During last Friday's The Joe Rogan Experience, which is carried on the audio streaming service Spotify, the comedian suggested that most young people didn't really need the COVID-19 vaccine. Now Joe Rogan is facing a major backlash on social media. There were more than 100,000 tweets and many came from fellow comedians and other media personalities. Let the firestorm begin. Rogan, who tackles a range of subjects, commented directly on the need to get a vaccine. If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, "Should I get vaccinated?" I'll go, "No," said Rogan. If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, I don't think you need to worry about this. Since making those remarks last week, they've spread across the various social networks, and it has even caught the attention of the White House and Dr. Anthony Fauci. I guess my first question would be, did Joe Rogan become a medical doctor while we weren't looking? White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield told CNN on Wednesday. I'm not sure that taking scientific and medical advice from Joe Rogan is perhaps the most productive way for people to get their information. Dr. Fauci has called Rogan's recommendation to be self-serving, and has warned that even if someone doesn't have symptoms they could still propagate the outbreak. Those individuals could inadvertently infect someone else. Social media reaction. Many have now called out the comedian and Spotify directly on social media, and there have been calls for him to be fired for spreading what some have labeled dangerous misinformation. Hey, at Spotify, you give a platform to Joe Rogan, someone who is actively using his podcast to tell people not to take a coronavirus vaccine. You profit from his deadly propaganda and you continue to spread it. Shame on you for breeding your own. Alex Jones, wrote singer, songwriter Ricky DeVilla, at the Ricky DeVilla. Elizabeth C. McLaughlin, at E.C. McLaughlin, founder of the Gaia Project for Women's Leadership, was equally direct. Hey, at Spotify. Right now, you're complicit in the continuing harm of this pandemic, and we all know it. It's time for you to do something about Joe Rogan. Cultural critic and podcast Torre, Ed Torre, was among those who called out Rogan for offering medical advice. People who take health advice from Joe Rogan deserve whatever happens to them. The COVID experience should have taught us that science is about continual revision and hypothesis. Unfortunately, many people have come away with the faulty idea that science is just a bunch of opinions. Joe Rogan seems to be one, noted blogger Matthew Sheffield, at Matt Sheffield. It is unlikely that any of those calls for his firing will be heeded. Rogan has shown how it is increasingly possible to get attention under the purview of free speech even as it tests the boundaries of what is free speech or at least good taste, said futurist and trend expert Scott Steinberg.